This is Anmol, and I welcome you to Dark Tales from the Dark Web. In this series, we delve into the shadowy depths of the internet, where secrets are buried and stories are born. Today, we unravel the thread of a tale that might send a chill down your spine. A tale that started innocently enough with a man named Richard. Richard, like many of us, was a regular internet user, blissfully unaware of the murky underbelly of the web. But curiosity, as they say, can lead one down unexpected paths. Richard's curiosity led him to the dark web, a place where the line between reality and the unimaginable blurs. A place accessed through the Tor browser, a portal to an uncharted world. So, here we start the chronicle of Richard's haunting journey on the dark web. A journey that starts with a click and ends with a question that will echo in your minds. Who's next? Richard, like many of us, was a usual surfer on the web. The vast expanse of the internet was his oyster, a digital playground of boundless information and entertainment. But one day, while navigating through the waves of data, he stumbled upon something unusual, a term that piqued his interest: the deep web and the dark web. Intrigued by this new discovery, Richard set out on a quest for knowledge. He delved into articles, forums, and discussion threads, learning about these mysterious corners of the internet. The deep web, he discovered, was a part of the internet that isn't indexed by traditional search engines. It's where your emails reside, your online banking details, your subscription information. But then there was the dark web, a subset of the deep web shrouded in anonymity and secrecy. A place where things that prefer to stay hidden dwell. He learned that the dark web could be accessed through a special browser known as Tor, which stands for the Onion Router. This browser allows users to access websites anonymously without revealing their identity or location. Richard, driven by curiosity, downloaded the Tor browser. He felt like a digital adventurer setting foot on unexplored territory. He began to explore random sites, diving deeper into the abyss of the dark web. With each click, he journeyed further, drawn in by the allure of the unknown. Hours passed as Richard ventured through the dark web, a place where the everyday internet felt like a distant memory. He found himself on a peculiar site. A black image dominated the screen, and a chat ran alongside it, filled with people speaking in different languages and codes. A video preview was about to start, changing the black image into something more chilling. Richard was about to witness something that would shake him to his core. Little did Richard know his curiosity was about to lead him to a horrifying experience. After hours of surfing, Richard stumbled upon an ominous sight, a sight that was a stark departure from the innocuous ones he'd been exploring. This one was bathed in an eerie darkness, the only contrast being a solitary black image and a chat running alongside it. The chat was a whirlwind of languages and codes, a babble of communication that Richard could barely comprehend. As he tried to decipher the gibberish, the black image began to morph. The transformation was slow, almost like a beast stirring from its slumber. It was a video preview, Richard realized. A sense of curiosity mixed with trepidation washed over him. And then it happened. The video began to play, and the chat went into overdrive. Messages were appearing faster than Richard could read, a frenzied symphony of characters that seemed to feed off the video's energy. A figure emerged in the frame, a silhouette cloaked in jet black from head to toe, his face concealed behind a mask of the same hue. The chat erupted in a frenzy. Messages coupled with heavy donations flashed across the screen, their cryptic codes adding another layer of mystery to the unfolding scene. The figure stood motionless for a moment, as if soaking in the chat's fervor. Then he stepped out of the frame only to return with a hammer. What followed was a chilling spectacle. The figure began to strike a man tied to a chair, each hit landing with sickening precision on his jaw. The sound was a gruesome symphony of bone and flesh yielding to the relentless assault. The man's jaw hung grotesquely, his attempts at screaming distorted into a gut-wrenching cacophony. And yet, the chat seemed to revel in the horrifying spectacle. their excitement palpable as they sent messages and donations, their codes echoing the brutal rhythm of the hammer's descent. Just when Richard thought it couldn't get any worse, it did. A man dressed in black appeared on the screen, a figure shrouded in darkness, his identity hidden behind a mask. An atmosphere of dread filled the room as he stepped into the frame, carrying a hammer in his hand. The chilling sight was enough to freeze one's blood, and yet the chat box on the screen was abuzz with excitement. The man in black, without a word or a moment's hesitation, started to deliver blow after merciless blow to the man tied to the chair. Each hit landed on his jaw, each more brutal than the last. After about 20 hits, the man's jaw was hanging, the pain so intense that he couldn't even scream. His attempts at crying out were met with a distorted whimper, a haunting testament to his agony. And yet, as this gruesome scene unfolded, the chat box was filled with jubilation, a twisted celebration of the macabre spectacle unfolding before their eyes. But the worst was yet to come. The man in black suddenly stopped his assault and started a poll. The question was simple yet horrifying. Should the man tied to the chair live or die? As the poll ran, 15 to 20,000 people cast their votes. The verdict was almost unanimous. 95% voted for the man to die. A dreadful consensus reached by a faceless crowd, reveling in the torment of another. As the poll concluded, the man in black resumed his assault. This time, his blows landed on the man's chest and abdomen. The victim writhed in pain, each hit bringing him closer to his end. After about 15 hits, he was still. His ordeal was over, his life extinguished on a cruel and merciless stage. As the man tied to the chair drew his last breath, a chilling text appeared on the screen. Who's next? A haunting question that sent a wave of terror through the crowd. Who would be the next victim of this horrifying spectacle? The question hung in the air, a grim reminder of the dark corners of the web where humanity's worst instincts are laid bare. Suddenly, the screen was split into 10 boxes. Just imagine the sheer terror that washed over Richard as he found himself staring at his own face among those 10 boxes. He had been an observer, a bystander, hidden in the shadows of the dark web. But now, he was thrust into the spotlight, his anonymity stripped away. His face cam had been hacked while he was engrossed in the horrifying spectacle. His heart pounded in his chest as a countdown began. It started at 10, and with each passing second, a face cam disappeared. It was like watching a digital executioner go to work, methodically erasing each anonymous viewer. The chilling question echoed in Richard's mind. Who's next? As the countdown hit 7, 6 faces had already vanished. Richard's face was still there, his eyes wide with terror. 5, 4, 3. The countdown continued, relentless and unforgiving. The faces were disappearing, one by one, each a chilling reminder of Richard's impending doom. 2. By now, only 2 face cams remained, Richard's and that of an unknown person. The unknown person was visibly scared, his face a mirror image of the terror that Richard felt. And then it hit one. Richard's face disappeared from the screen. He was no longer a passive observer. He had become a part of the dark web's gruesome game. His heart pounded in his chest, his mind raced with fear and regret. He was alone in this digital abyss, his face cam gone, his anonymity stripped away. Then, the screen displayed a chilling message. We'll meet soon. It was a promise, a threat, a terrifying affirmation of Richard's worst fears. In that moment, Richard knew he was not just a random observer. He was a target. The dark web had reached out from the depths of the internet and touched him, marked him, and there was nothing he could do about it. His journey into the deep web, his curiosity, had led him to this terrifying revelation. He was next. Shaken to his core, Richard quickly exited the site. The terrifying experience had left him reeling, his heart pounding in his chest, as the reality of what he had witnessed sunk in. A normal night of web surfing had taken a turn into the darkest corners of the internet, leading him to a place he never wished to return. In the aftermath of the horrifying event, Richard made a decision. A decision born out of fear, yes, but also out of a newfound understanding of the disturbing realities that can exist online. He vowed to himself he would never return to the dark web. It was a promise he intended to keep, a lesson learned in the most brutal way possible. Richard's encounter serves as a chilling reminder of the depths of depravity that lurk in the corners of the dark web. Stay safe, and until next time, this is Anmol, signing off from another episode of Dark Tales from the Dark Web.